Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Albuquerque Aliens Draft to Glory franchise mode here in NHL 25. So in last episode, if you didn't catch it, we let go of two players that have been here for quite a while, those being Tuzolino and Del Monte. The reason being is just because they were asking for way too much money, and they went on to sign some pretty big contracts with their new teams. So Del Monte, I can't remember. I think, he actually signed with the Ottawa Senators. He's going to be making $16 million this season, as you can see here. If we remove my face, $16.875 million for the next 6 years in Ottawa, and he's getting a also no trade clause, which is pretty damn insane. So I'm kind of glad I didn't re-sign him, even though he was a fun player here in Albuquerque. His career numbers really aren't necessarily the best. He did have a 76-point season last year, so maybe he's on the uprise. But to be honest, don't think he was worth that $16 million that he ended up getting paid. And then another one, obviously, Tuzolino. This one was a pretty big one, obviously going to the Florida Panthers. You can see he's making $20.33 million for the next 7 years. And he also does have a no movement clause for the first 4 years, and then it changes into a no trade clause. So basically, this guy is the highest paid player in the league now, and the crazy thing is he's never won a Norris Trophy at this point. Obviously, he should win one at some point in his career, but great offensive defenseman, but unfortunately it just didn't work out here near the end. Near the end of his time here, he was actually like a -5 in the last 2 playoff games we played, so obviously, good luck to him in Florida, but it does suck that we had to let him go as early as we did, because I wasn't expecting him to really want like $20 million at one point. Early in the season, I think he was probably close to like $15 million, and then by the end of the season, he was thinking he was the player that deserved the most money in the entire league, which is not really what I would say, because there's probably a bunch of other players that are higher overalls, better producers, that are also getting paid way less money. Like, if we would have paid Tuzolino that $20 million, he would have been basically getting $9 million more than Ristolainen, which is pretty impressive because Ristolainen's a 96 overall player, and he's also putting up better numbers offensively and that type of thing because he's a forward. Staubitz is making 10.5, so it would literally been like 2 Staubitz's contracts to basically afford Tuzolino back. It would have been like $12 million more than Kolar's contract for this season. Obviously, Kolar's got an extension, which is right around the same amount as Staubitz's contract is currently. So a lot of these guys would have cost a lot more if we would have waited later on probably in the season. So I wish I would have got Tuzolino done earlier if possible. Maybe I could have saved a lot of money then. But at the same time, I don't know if it's going to be a huge loss for our team because Norena, obviously being an offensive defenseman, I think he could have some pretty good stats this year. Obviously, it depends on how he does on the power play and all that. But hopefully he could take a good step up. And then also, we do have some young defenders that are like Mahalik, who's going to be jumping into the NHL because of the loss of Tuzolino. So, going to be interesting to see what this team could do with the season. Obviously, I think we're going to take a little bit of a hit because obviously we lost 2 good players, but at the same time, we should be able to make it back to the playoffs almost. But hopefully, we actually could go on a pretty good run and get to a Cup Finals this year. Last year, obviously, we got to the Conference Finals. I don't know if we're going to get to the Conference Finals this year because I think we might be technically a bit worse. But at the same time, maybe that's a good thing. But anyways, before we get into simulating another regular season, let's get in your guys' comments, see what you guys have to say about last episode, and then we probably will get into simulating the season right away and seeing if this team can make it back to the postseason. So the first comment is from Joseph D. Miller, who says, tough draft, but good luck next year. I'm fine with grabbing undrafted. It creates cool storylines. So I was asking you guys in last episode if we should be able to pick up undrafted players, and it seems like a lot of you guys are kind of on board with that. So I think we will be able to pick up undrafted players as long as they've never played for anybody's AHL team before. So if they're just straight out of junior, straight out of the draft, then we're allowed to bring them in. If they've played in an AHL team before, so they got like a contract from a different team, technically we are not allowed to pick them up. That's my little spin on it. Just because if they played in an AHL team, they've basically been selected by a team, in my opinion. In that way, so I think it makes a little bit more sense, and then we could find maybe some good steals that we didn't get in the draft and all that stuff. So we will be able to look in the free agent market, but we are obviously going to be only going for those undrafted guys that obviously haven't played on an NHL team, an AHL team, etc. So The next two comments are from Michael Dose. The first one says, Tuzolino over $20 million in Florida with no income tax in the state. Great contract for him. And yeah, I didn't even think about the no income tax stuff. So yeah, Tuzolino is just a man on a mission. He probably has like a really nice house in like the Florida Keys or something like that based on that contract. Like $20 million a season is ridiculous. Like, I don't even know what the heck you could do with $20 million. Like, he might as well just buy himself like a friggin'. He probably has a boat. If he lives in Florida, he probably has like a nice yacht or something like that too. That's my guess. We'll just say that he does anyways. Michael also says, very weak draft class. You did good with what you were dealt though. I also say if a player went undrafted, then he has fair game. So there's another person saying about, hey, we could pick up undrafted players. So at least it seems like you guys are on board with that option. So I definitely hope that there's going to be some interesting options out there for us as we go through the rest of the series. Next comment is from Ryan the Sharky, who says, as the guy who remembered to nag you about Louis Lewis every week during the Tokyo franchise, there haven't been many interesting names in this franchise until Neil McNeil and now Calvin Hobbs. And yeah, there hasn't been really that much intriguing names in the series until those two guys for sure. Obviously, I feel like for some reason in MLB, there seems to be a lot more of those kind of players with two names. NHL, I haven't really seen a ton of them. But hopefully we can run into more meme names as we go on. And if we are obviously picking in that range and they're good potential, may as well add some meme players to our team as well and see if they end up developing. And the last and final comment is from Sound Otaku, says, I about fell out of chair when I saw those Tuzolino and Del Monte contracts. Mendez was in a WHL, so SAS is Saskatoon. Norena was indeed a low 4, so maybe Novoseltsev will work out too. I don't have a problem with signing undrafted players in free agency. To me, there's a little difference between doing that and giving a player that you did draft his ELC right away. And yeah, that's pretty much true, actually, for that matter. But yeah, Mendez definitely was in Saskatoon. I didn't even realize he was in the WHL. I think I was looking and I thought I saw OHL for some reason or something like that. But yeah, we didn't really have the best draft in last episode, but at least we got some more prospects. Like Talk was mentioning, Novoseltsev, the low 4. Maybe he ends up finding a way to pan out because obviously we had Norena pan out, and Norena is one of our best defensemen now on the team. But you can see our unsigned prospect pool is actually not too bad. Like, if we sort by potential, we have a couple medium elites, we have a low elite, but the thing is the age on all these guys are not the best. So I hope that we get some growth from a lot of these guys, because obviously if our team starts to continue taking a step back by losing players, it's just going to get more and more hard for this team to win games. So anyways, that is that. So I think we're pretty much ready to get into simulating the season. So I don't think I'm going to give any season goals again, just because I don't want to put the pressure on the team. Trying to think if there's anything I want to do before we start the season. I should actually look at the captains, because I think Tuzolino was an alternate on this team before he left. So I guess they gave the other A to Kolars, which makes a lot of sense. I think those three guys, so they basically, the top line deserves all the letters at the moment. Obviously, during the future, once we lose other players, I don't really know who becomes like assistant captain and all that. Like, I think at some point Ristolainen being a captain would make sense, but I think he's going to retire shortly after Staubitz probably, so honestly don't even know how long Risto would be captain for if he is going to be a captain, because Risto to me has been probably the most consistent player on the team, because Staubitz is only just becoming a good goal scorer. Like last year he had a fantastic season. Kolars has been kind of like the guy that flies under the radar a little bit more. But what does our coach have to say about our roster on paper out of curiosity? Let's see. Does he think we can make it back to the playoffs? He says good enough to compete for the cup still this season. So he still thinks we're good enough, even without Del Monte and without Tuzolino. So let's try and get to the playoffs, and obviously take it one round at a time if we get there. So excited to see what this team's able to do despite those losses. I think obviously like our offense, like I said, would probably drop off a little bit, because obviously Del Monte was a better offensive forward than some of the other guys that we have on the team. And then Tuzolino obviously was driving that offense from the back end. I don't know if Norena could do that same production level, but if Norena could do what Tuzolino was doing, or even close to it, then I think that's a massive win, because it's a much cheaper contract for Norena. He's only making $9 million rather than the $20 million that Tuzolino is getting paid. So let's go through the preseason and see how we do during that, and then obviously we'll get to the actual regular season. But hoping for an interesting year from this team. Like I said, I think we make it back to the playoffs, but I'm not really too sure on if there's going to be some numbers that drop off from last year. Like, goaltending could be different this year as well, because Tuzolino was okay in his own end as well for the most part. He did make some big mistakes near the end of his time here, but he definitely wasn't the worst defenseman in the world. But 6-2 in the preseason, that's pretty damn good. Obviously, we were running our actual NHL roster, though, against a lot of rookie teams. We were scoring 5.13 goals per game during the preseason, which is pretty interesting. I actually do want to take a look at the player stats for the preseason. Holy crap, 20 points in 8 games for Ristolainen. Damn. And Staubitz had 18 and Kolar's had 17. So our entire top line was like 2 points per game plus on average during the preseason. Hopefully that means during the regular season these guys are going to completely go off, because that would be fantastic if that's the case, because all these guys are locked up on nice contracts. Like Ristolainen is still signed for 6 years. And he's only getting 11.6. Then you have Staubitz, who's signed for 6 years as well on a no movement clause. And then you have Kolar's, who is signed for 1 year before his 7-year extension kicks in. So all those guys are locked up quite long term. They're definitely going to cost us a lot when their contracts end again, but they are getting into their 30s now, which is interesting. I didn't even think about that. It's like Staubitz is 31 years old now, so he could be dropping off in the next few years. Ristolainen is already 30 years old, and then Kolar's is the only guy that's 28 still on the team. So still a little bit of an older top line now. And then obviously the rest of this team is kind of mixed in terms of age, I think. But looks like Norena had a great preseason with 8 points in 8 games and a +10. So if he could bring that during a regular season, we're in a very, very good spot. So I'm excited to see what those guys could do this season. So I think we're ready to get to the regular season. So let's simulate over to that. And we'll take it like 1 month at a time and see how this team does. Hopefully that top line does as good as they did in the preseason, because 2 points per game for each of them is pretty damn impressive. All right, so let's go to the end of October. And like I said, take it 1 month at a time, because obviously if we rush it too quick, we might end up missing the playoffs, or we might end up simulating too good. We don't necessarily want to simulate too good. We lose 1-0 in a shootout, so nobody even scored a goal in that first game of the season. That's actually kind of insane. And then we lose against Ottawa. We do beat Toronto. We lose to Buffalo. A little bit of a weird start to the year for this team, it seems like, so far. But it has to be expected after losing 2 guys that we didn't really want to lose, but we had to lose, because they're literally making a combined like $36 million. Ariel Segal's already been injured in the AHL. Let's just go replace player. But yeah, we do got to be hopeful that we could stay healthy all season as well, because obviously if we're healthy, that's going to help us out a lot in terms of making the playoffs. But 4-3-2 in our first 9 games, which has us in second last in the Central Division. We got to be careful, because the Central has been pretty damn tight the last few years. So hopefully we do not fall out of the playoff mix too early on in the season. So that's an okay first month, because obviously, I mean, we have more wins than losses in regulation, but we have points in 6 of 9 games at least. So I'll take that as a positive, but obviously we need to have a lot more wins than 1 win every few games. So hopefully this busy month of November, we could start getting our feet going and win more games than lose. So let's see what we do here. Game against Anaheim is a loss. Carolina is a win. Philadelphia, as Segal's back. I don't even remember where he was in the lineup in the AHL. He was a defenseman, actually, for that matter. Hennessy is pretty damn close to making the NHL. Same with Malak. So we do have guys that could come up here at some point. But yeah, it was Ackerstrom. I think that was scratched, correct? Yeah, I think it was Ackerstrom that was scratched, and they didn't really want to scratch Ackerstrom, but we have to do that, I guess. We have a bit too much prospects on the defensive side of things in the AHL, I guess, at the moment. Philadelphia is a loss. St. Louis is a loss as well. Pittsburgh is a win. Yeah, we're pretty inconsistent here early on, but if we could start finding our game a bit, like we are actually maybe not yet. If we could start finding some like 5 straight wins, we could obviously make a good headway in terms of our division, but still a little bit scared here early on in the season, as Dwayne Sagan has been injured with a sprained ankle in the AHL. That's another defensive prospect. There's a nice win streak now. We're on a 4-game win streak, 5-game win streak. This is what I was actually just asking for. 14-7-2. That's a lot better. Perfect. Great way to end off the month of November. So we are currently in a wildcard spot on 30 points, and we're only 2 points back at second place of our division. The Blues are kind of running away with the division a little bit right now. They're 17-3-4 so far, which is pretty damn insane. So Some pretty good teams in our division at the moment. The best team in the league we're literally playing against right now, you can see, is the New York Rangers, 19-2-2. Damn, 19-2-2. Rangers fans wish they were that good this season in real life, but yeah, I guess we'll go to the end of December to January and see if we could continue this nice little win streak as we play a really good team, and we do beat them. That's a big win, and we're still on a long winning streak at this point. As Corso has been injured, that's a forward prospect, injured with a sore hip. So the AHL team going through a couple big injuries, which is unfortunate. Hopefully they don't suffer the team too much. Like, hopefully the AHL team makes the playoffs, because I'm kind of hoping that they could make it into the postseason again, and that some of these guys could get some good growth because of it. But I think that AHL team should be solid enough to make the playoffs, but it's just more if they stay healthy, I guess. Damn, the winning streak is continuing. We are on a really good stretch here as of late, and of course, after I said that, we lost to the Kraken. We do beat Tampa Bay right afterwards, though, and we also beat Montreal, so it wasn't a long losing streak. We only lost one game in a row before winning a bunch again. I'm liking the way the team's simulating right now. Kind of curious on player stats, but obviously, like I said in the prior episodes, like the regular season sims, I don't really want to know who's leading a team in points until the end of the season, so I'm going to try my best to make sure that none of us know what's going on, and I can't see what's going on because we were at the AHL calendar. What was happening in those last 3 games? Did we win any of them? We won 2 and lost 1. Okay. So we're doing still really good on a great stretch. We've only lost 2 games since where? 2 games since all the way back here, I guess. Wow, even 3 games since then. So we barely lost games in the last few months. So good little run from this team. Let's keep it rolling. We got 3 games this week. A large gap between games, which is kind of weird. And there's a nice little win again. Toronto is a win as well. Buffalo, another win in a shootout. Okay. Yeah, this team, I think, is definitely making it back to the playoffs the way we've been playing as of late. We're up to 25 wins, 26-9-2. We have taken first place from the St. Louis Blues in our division now, which is either good or bad, because obviously if we over-simulate, we might end up being a first-round exit, so we got to be careful about that. But we're 1 point up on the Blues, and we are currently the best team in the entire NHL now. The Rangers fell off a cliff after that, so they were 19-2-2, as we saw, I think, right? And now they're down to 21-12-4, so I think they've lost a ton of games since, so that kind of scares me that they might win the Cup because of that. Just because when a team's doing so good and they fall off a little bit, and then they get the last wild card, they go on to win the Stanley Cup sometimes, right? So I'm a little bit scared about that, but obviously we're only in the regular season sim, so playoffs don't matter right now at this stage. Let's go to end of January, and let's continue this hot trend we're on as of late. But kind of curious to see if guys like Tuzolino make it back to the playoffs. It looks like so far they might make it back to the playoffs because Florida's doing good this season, but we beat them 9-3, so I should actually take a look at the box scores for those games against Florida and see how bad Tuzolino was against his former team, because that'd be kind of interesting. Who was injured? Oh, I guess it was a day-to-day injury. Never mind. I thought there was somebody that was actually coming back from injury. All right. But yeah, I definitely should take a look at the box scores against Florida and see how much we killed Tuzolino. Like maybe Tuzolino was a -5 in that game against us or something like that. Like, I like the guy, but at the same time, he just didn't do enough for me. Ahinen's injured as well in the AHL. Seems like all the injuries so far this season have been the AHL, which, I mean, is probably better, but it does suck kind of, too. Okay, so why is Janicki on the top line center? Oh, because Ahinen was injured. I'll just throw Geisbers in that spot, I guess, for now, and get Janicki back on the defensive side of things, because Janicki has, I think it was low 4 potential. I can't even remember, to be honest. Let's see. Does Janicki have low 4? Medium 4. So Janicki could end up making it, but he is a 25-year-old already, so he's probably at least a depth defender. We could call him up to the NHL at some point as a depth defenseman, but not yet. Geisbers has now been injured. Damn, all the depth options are getting injured too, so AHL is suffering quite a bit of losses, and now we suffer our first NHL injury. It's to Mauricio Peterson. He'll be out with an injured groin out till January 23rd, so that's not super long term. I think I'm just going to go replace player instead of actually trying to figure out the line adjustments, because right now we have a really big gap on our losses, so we don't even really care too much if our lines are not the best on paper with those depth options. So Ackerstrom needs to come out because he was a depth player. We need to put Ahinen in that spot. And then let me just take a look at this. Geisbers is out. That's fine. I think Geisbers was a depth option anyway, so it doesn't really matter too much. All right, let's see what we do against Nashville, which I guess we have to wait till the end of the month. Mauricio Peterson is already back. He only missed a couple games, so that's good. And that's kind of funny. The other Peterson is in the lineup, Skyler. He has got to actually play a game. He didn't have any points in those 2 games, but that's all right. He is a guy that had a low lead potential at one point, but didn't really develop into being that low lead guy. So we gave him a chance this year as a depth forward. But he hasn't gotten to play that much so far because there hasn't been a lot of injuries in the NHL. Jacob Watson has been injured in the AHL. That's another defenseman, if I'm not mistaken. So AHL defenders are just getting slapped. We're 33-14-2. We have now fallen down to 2nd place in our division. We are still tied with the Blues, though. But we're in a pretty good spot, so we just got to keep on winning games. Just got to keep on winning. If we were in the Pacific Division again, though, we would be leading that division. And the last playoff spot in the Pacific has 49 points. Rather, in our Central Division, the last playoff spot in the wild card has 59. So that's pretty insane. And the Golden Knights are actually technically below 500, but they're in a playoff spot. So that's very strange. So that Pacific Division consistently beats the weaker division in this Western Conference, it seems like. So let's go to the 14th. Take this month a little bit slower since we're approaching the deadline. And like I said, we'll obviously take a look at some trades and stuff that happen around the league too. But at this stage, it's probably more a bunch of generated guys. So it's not going to be anybody huge that we actually recognize probably getting dealt. Unless there's some players that are still young enough in the league. Hennessy's up to an 80 now, which is pretty good. So maybe Hennessy will get a chance to play in our NHL playoffs at some point if we need that depth a little bit. And then also that Lowleat was up to a 78. Yeah, Malak's up to a 78 too. So those guys should be probably having good seasons if they're developing a bit more, which is pretty damn exciting. So we will definitely have some more internal competition with our lineup going into next season. But I'm interested to see how good Delisle's doing in his rookie year because maybe he's up there for a potential Rookie of the Year candidate. He is playing in our top 6 right now, so maybe that's going to help his development a lot. Geisbers was just a healthy scratch, I think, anyway, so he doesn't need to be put back in. 38 wins now already on the season. Yeah, I definitely think this team's making it back to the playoffs, which is fantastic. So, was a little bit of a sluggish start to the season, but we definitely have found ourselves quite a bit over these last few months. So that's great. We should be hitting 40 wins before the deadline as well. And we don't hit it there. We could hit it here against Tampa. Can we do it? No, we can't. How about Montreal? Now we're going to go on a losing streak, right? Oh boy, 3 losses in a row. That might be the first time all season. And there it is, 40 wins before the deadline. We also beat Washington for 41 wins. Can we beat Colorado for win 42? Win 42. Let's see. Yes, we can. 9-7. Wow, we've had some friggin' crazy offensive games, which makes me think our top line is doing a lot of good offensive stuff this season. So I did see also Lee is losing morale because of ice time, which is not good. So I might need to address some lines. But let me first go back to this screen for a second. Let me close my eyes so that way we can go on over to the activity feed without me taking a look at any player stats. And then we can take a look at some trades here. So there is some players that are still actually playing. So Mason McTavish and Yuri Kulich on their way to St. Louis. Anybody else I recognize here getting dealt? Dumais on his way to Toronto. A lot of these guys are generated players, but I don't recognize a lot of them. Michael Misa on his way to Toronto for Vinzenz Roder, former 67, if I'm not mistaken. Aside from that, yeah, most of these guys are probably generated at this stage. Thomas Bordelot on his way to Dallas. All right, Matt Bottcher to Ottawa. Bowen Byram. Interesting. Anything else? Not that I could see for real players. Yeah, all those other guys I think are pretty much all generated, which is pretty funny. So those are the deadline deals. Let me go back on over to the calendar and not look at any player stats. And now we can go back to this again. So that way you guys don't get spoiled on player stats. And so I don't get spoiled on player stats. Because I think it'd be more interesting to just find out at the end of the season, oh, so-and-so had a 70-goal season or something like that, right? So let's go to... We should be clinching a playoff spot relatively soon. Just because the Pacific Division is so weak, because we're literally like 24 points up on the Pacific Division right now. So I don't think there's almost any way we'd miss the playoffs unless we lost every game down the stretch. Maybe not even. Like some of these teams that are in those outside the playoffs in that division can't even almost probably catch us in points, I would assume. So, yeah, let's anyways go to the 21st, so do a couple weeks, and see if we could get up to 50 wins. We'll probably get to 50 wins at least this season. There is a chance we could get 60, but I don't know if I want to win a President's Trophy this year, just because I know that could be a curse, and I don't know if I want that curse or not. I have seen teams win President's Trophies and Cups in the same season, so it is doable, but it is a lot tougher than it looks, I guess. Zach Hurd has been injured with a broken nose, so that is our younger defenseman, and we'll go replace player. Sucks for him to have a broken nose. I wonder what happened in that. Like, did he get into a fight, or did somebody just punch him in the... or did he get a puck in the nose and it break or some shit? Like, wonder what happened. Maybe he ran into a stanchion on the boards. So there's 47 wins. Hurd should be back relatively soon, I think. And yeah, there he is. Of course, I thought so. I couldn't remember what date it said, but our entire top line apparently is going up in overall, so I think the top line is definitely carrying this team this year offensively. So we will have... Wait, Lee was scratched most of the season? Oh my goodness, that's why he was losing morale. I didn't even realize I was scratching Lee. Okay. So that was probably part of the problem. Let's get Hurt in here. Yeah, I didn't even realize I was scratching Lee at the start of the season, so that is not ideal. But now it should be fine. Okay. I didn't realize I was scratching Lee. Maybe Whitfield was actually doing really good there, though. So maybe I should be scratching Lee. Corso's been injured again. He will be missing the beginning of the AHL playoffs, likely, if they are in the playoff spot with an upper body injury. That's not great. Those upper body injuries are somewhat long-term, which is a little bit weird. Let's see what else we got here. There's a loss against St. Louis, which is good. And, of course, we have a big injury to a top-line player, but it's not long-term at least. Like, we're lucky that this is only till April the 2nd. If this was the, like, May the 2nd or June the 2nd, this would be substantial. But this one's only for, like, a week. So this one's only for, like, a week, which is good. So let's just go replace player, but... Kolars is going to miss a couple games, which is unfortunate because he could be getting close to maybe a career high in points. I honestly don't even know. But he does miss a couple games, but hopefully that top line can still do good without him. There's a win again. Skylar Peterson was playing on that top line when he got thrown into the lineup, and he gets injured as well. He's not out super long term, but let's go replace player again. And I think he should be back from injury. It said April 1st, right? Or was it April 3rd? I don't even remember. Well, let's go another game here. We are over 50 wins now on the season. We should be getting a notification. There is Kolars. Is he healthy? Is he fully healthy? Yeah, I guess he would be. But that's good to see that he's back for the playoffs at least. Because like I said, if that injury was a lot more long-term, that would be much more substantial. So 52 wins. We got 3 games left this regular season. Let's see if we could finish with 55 wins. I don't even know if I want 55 wins at this point. 8-7 shootout win. Damn, we're having some really good offensive games because we literally beat Vegas 8-1 before that game as well. We lose to Detroit 5-1, and final game of the season, Washington is also a loss. So 53-25-4 at the end of the year. We do end up winning our division, which could be a bad sign. The Blues have fallen off to 3rd place. Are the Blues the favorite for the Stanley Cup now because of that? We do end up winning the President's Trophy on 110 points only. Wow, that's actually kind of impressive because I didn't think we were going to win the President's Trophy at only 110 points. Usually it's the President's Trophy team with 120 plus points, but we might have the curse, which is not great. So now comes the fun stuff. Our player stats and all that stuff, but first and foremost, let's see where we led the league. Oh my goodness, I just saw that Stelwitz had 118 points, I think. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Stelwitz is literally having a career resurgence this late into his career. That's actually insane. Alright, well, we'll take a look at that a little bit more in depth here shortly. That's a little tease, I guess, because we don't know how much goals he had. But if we go to entire league, yep, we finished 1st place in the entire league with 110 points. I feel like we're going to be a first round exit just because they gave us the President's Trophy based on that. That's actually kind of scary. To win the President's Trophy only on 110 points. Like, I'm pretty sure I've seen most of the time President's Trophy teams with 123 points, not 110. There was not a lot of teams that won 50 games this season. That is very strange. So even though we lost very good players, we do end up winning the President's Trophy. Florida was number 4, so Tuzolino and his team are going to be in the playoffs. Ottawa, with the addition of Del Monte, also a top 5 team in the league. That's interesting. So some former players might have chances at Cups this year as well. Goals for per game. We were the best offensive team in the league, scoring 4.02 goals for per game, despite losing our offensive defenseman in Tuzolino and a top 6 forward. That's actually kind of insane. So we lose 2 really good players, but our offense doesn't even fall off at any stretch. Like, this might be our best offensive team so far. So I'm hopeful that Norena might have a chance to win himself a Norris Trophy this season if he's up there in points. Goals against per game. We're not the best defensive team. So that's one thing. Obviously, we are definitely a little bit more offensively minded, but still 3.1 is not bad. It's like mid-table, just a bit above mid-table. Our power play percentage was the best in the league, so that's probably what also played a factor. So if our power play was the best in the league, that definitely makes me think that Norena was doing well this season, which is great. I like to see what his points are looking like. And our penalty kill was actually the best in the league as well. Wow. So we didn't have a great regular strength defense, but our penalty kill was good. So special teams good and offense was good. So I am kind of scared that we were that good in a lot of different areas because that just screams first round exit to me. 15 short-handed goals as well to lead the league. We're literally leading in so many categories that I am a little bit worried because of that. We were, in terms of home ice, we were the 4th best home ice team. On the road, we had the best record at 28-11-2. All right. Well, that's a lot more impressive than I was expecting the season to be like. But the one thing, obviously, is the player stats. You can see Stubbett's 118 points. How much goals did he score this season? Because last year he had a 64-goal season. So is he going to have 70 goals? Is he going to just be down to 50 and have a lot more assists? Like, this top line did really, really well this season. This is definitely their best year. Let's take a look. I'm going to actually go to this screen for a second so you guys can't see. I'm going to close my eyes as well so we get surprised relatively at the same time. Let's go back to here, and bam. We only had a 200-point players, okay. Let's just go on centers to a start, though. Ristolainen, 47 goals, 59 assists, 106 points, plus 41. Wow. What a year. 28 power play points, 3 shorthanded goals, 5 shorthanded points, 57.8% on the draw, 108 takeaways. Is he going to be up there for a potential another Selke trophy? Who really knows? And then Kim had 71 points this year, so that's a pretty big year for Kim. Not as much goals as I was expecting, only 21, but 50 assists, so very good for him to be up there in points. Obviously, his contract is a nice little trial one. I am a little bit worried that he's going to end up leaving the team at the end of this trial run, but I'm not too sure. And then, Mauricio Peterson, 62 points in 80 games. He's been actually pretty damn solid. And he's on only a 1-year contract. And then we might have to pay him some big bucks. That's a bit scary. Cashman on 48 points. 29 goals for Hector Cashman. He's actually become a pretty solid goal scorer down there in that bottom 6. I think he had a good season last year too, right? Yeah, 22 goals and 46 points. Hector Cashman's looking decent. And then Heatley somehow was a minus 18 on this team. That doesn't make really much any sense to me. I know we weren't a good defensive team on regular strength, so maybe that's why. But 19 points and a minus 18 for Jeremy Heatley is not great defensively. He definitely is not the best defensive player out there, but who knows, maybe he'll have a good playoffs for us. Left wing side of things, Kolar is on a career high 97 points. I'm pretty sure that's a career high for him, right? It's got to be 14 goals only, but 83 assists, so over an assist a game. Obviously, if he didn't miss those 3 games, he would have been over 100 points, just like his line mates. But it is indeed going to be a career high for him. Nice. Let's go, Kolars. Capaduca on 53 points, 29 goals, so another guy almost hitting 30 goals. Delisle on 32 points in his rookie season. That's a bit low for a guy that's in the top 6, but it's not bad. 16 goals and 16 assists. Had some power play points. I'll take it. I mean, it's not the craziest stat, but it's not bad either. Lambert on 23 points. He was also minus 14. So the bottom 6 was not great defensively. That's what I'm noticing. We were maybe top 6 heavy. Dag was 18 points, minus 8. Bure had 2 assists in only the game he played. Was plus 3 in that game too. So that top line definitely did good considering he was just up there for a little bit. Peterson had no points in 4 games though as a depth option, so that's unfortunate. Right wing side of things though, oh my god. Josiah Staubitz is actually kind of insane now. He's definitely trying to show that he deserves to be like a Channel Hall of Famer. 64 goals in back-to-back seasons for him. 54 assists this year. 118 points. That's an insane year for the 32-year-old now. As he builds on last season. Last year he won the Richard. This year maybe he wins the Richard. Maybe he just misses out. But there is a chance he could be up there for an Art Ross depending on the rest of the league. But what a year for him. 17 power play goals, 26 power play points. Also had some short-handed points. Yeah, very good year from Staubitz. So that's what I like to see from my captain. That's what I like to see. This contract is definitely worth it, for sure. 10.795, and he led us some points. So definitely would take that over Tuzolino any day. And then below him, Esteban Doig on 66 points. That's not too bad. 16 goals only, but 50 assists. Plus 4. So, yeah, it definitely looks like our top line was better defensively than most lines. But we did get some depth scoring to a degree. That's a career high in points for him. Not in goals, but in assists and points. So, shout out to Doig. When does his contract end? This year as well. Oh, boy. So that's a bit scary. Some of these guys' contracts coming to an end. Hopefully I can afford to bring a bunch of them back. Or else we're going to fall off. And Arena was good this year, but not too Zolino worthy in terms of offense. 59 points is really, really good for where he was drafted. But minus 9 on this team. So he wasn't the pairing that was pretty good defensively. He definitely has had his struggles defensively, though. Like, even though this team does good, he doesn't do the best in plus minus. Like, he did have a season where he was plus 44, but every other year he's minus. So that's unfortunate. Like, Narena's a bit of a defensive liability, but his offensive numbers are pretty damn good. So there's Kai Narena. And then Whitfield had 39 points in 73 games before we scratched him. So he should probably be back in the lineup based on those numbers. I didn't realize he was doing that well. So I guess we'll probably take Lee back out for the playoffs then, huh? Damn, plus 17 as well. Was not expecting that from Whitfield because Whitfield has been a bit inconsistent with points. He's not a huge offensive regular season guy, but this season he was very good. He was getting power play time this year too, so maybe he just needed power play time this year, and that was the thing. So we'll probably throw him back in for the playoffs. I think that's a good call. Bell on 29 points, minus 5. We had Hurd on 28 points, plus 34 for Zach Hurd. So that's a great year for him. Hopefully he continues to play that good. Tulipov, 17 points, plus 30. Mahalik was decent in his rookie year, 15 points, plus 14. And Lee played 13 games, plus 4. With, or actually not plus 4, 4 points and a plus 1. Huh, alright. So I think the thing we need to do is get Whitfield back in for the playoffs for sure. What about the goaltending numbers? And I know one from Gianta is not terrible. I mean, we weren't a great defensive team at regular strength, so it makes sense. 2.94 goals against. Nice little win-loss ratio. And Harakala, the other elite goaltender, almost ready to become maybe a starting goalie in the NHL. Not the best stats, but a good win-loss ratio. So I don't really know how good our goaltending is going to do in the playoffs. Gianta had 5 assists this year, so that's kind of interesting. And he actually does have Adventurer too, so that's maybe why he's picking up a lot of assists. His passing for a goalie is an 81. It's not the craziest, but how is his career numbers looking for assists? 7 assists now. Alright, not too bad from Gianta. He's also a pending free agent, so we do have a lot of decisions coming up when we get to the offseason this year, but obviously we're focused on the playoffs now. So let's take a look at the entire league player stats. Who led the league in points? It is going to be Staubitz, and behind him, Ristolainen was number 2. So we do have an Art Ross trophy heading to Staubitz's career as well now. So Staubitz is starting to build up that career. Obviously last year he won the Richard. This year he has won an Art Ross. Did he win a Richard as well? He tied for it at least with Larmour. I would assume they'd give it to him because he had more points. So I think Stubwitz has another Richard 2 in his bag, which is pretty damn awesome. So Stubwitz is taking home a lot of hardware here as of late. Hopefully he gets our team a Stanley Cup win too, because that would obviously help out his career a lot. But that's really impressive to see. I was not expecting to have 2 guys up there in points. So obviously if Kolar's played the entire season, he probably could have jumped up into that range as well. So we could have had one of the best top lines in the NHL. We technically probably do have the best top line in the NHL because are any of these guys teammates? Utah, Minnesota, Toronto, Chicago, I think. Yeah, Chicago. Probably still Washington, Florida. Interesting. And Minnesota. So Minnesota has a good top line, it looks like, based on that. Utah as well. Okay. So there is a couple other teams. Best defenseman for points, out of curiosity. Malachi Roberts, but look who's right behind him. Tuzolino. Not as much points as last year, but he had a really good year with them in Florida. But I still don't think that's worth $20 million. I don't think that's worth $20 million. So that's interesting. But Malachi Roberts, this guy's a 95 overall at 26. And look what he's getting paid. Only $10 million this year, and then he has a contract coming in as an extension, it looks like, on a no movement. I'm kind of curious on how much he's getting paid if Tuzolino's getting paid $20 million. We should probably take a look at that if I have a chance. The crazy thing about Malachi Roberts is look at that penalty minute count. I didn't even realize. 164 penalty minutes as well. So this guy takes a lot of penalties, but he also has very good offensive numbers. So what's his career looking like? 511 points. Over 1,000 penalty minutes. Damn. Wow, that's really impressive. He's only played 11 playoff games. And he's got 3 assists and he's -8. Oh boy. That poor man. That poor man. But he is locked up now for the future for them. Alright. Norena actually finished in the top 10 of defensive points. So if you compare him to Tuzolino, obviously Tuzolino probably the better of the two. But Norena was literally a second round pick and he's only getting paid $9.39. Meanwhile, Tuzolino is getting paid $20 million. So I think it's definitely a nice little cheap contract by comparison. Best goaltender in terms of wins this season was Vignetti in Florida. Gionta was right behind him. Most shutouts, De Silva in Columbus. Best save percentage by a starter is going to be probably Cope, considering he's played 49 games, but that's not a lot of games really. Strudwick maybe in LA, who we played last year. Yeah, it's probably Strudwick again. That guy took us out of the playoffs last year. I would assume Strudwick's definitely going to be a favorite for the Vezina, but there's also Kazanov in St. Louis too, who is really good. Any goalie goals this year for fun? No goalie goals. Most assists probably Gionta and Askarov with 5. All right. Best rookie of the season is going to be Obergauer with 32 goals and 48 points. But he's not going to win the Calder probably because of the plus minus. It's probably going to go to Hjalmarsson, my guess. Yeah, probably to Hjalmarsson. All right, one last thing I wanted to take a look at, though, is the Selke candidates. I want to see if Ristolainen has a chance to win another Selke this year. I would assume he does, but I'm not too sure. Not too sure. Oh, wait, it's probably not. No, it's probably going to go to Mike Robertson here in Toronto. 55% on the face-off dot, 169 takeaways. I mean, they could still give it to Ristolainen because Ristolainen won like 58+%. I mean, also Will Smith is up there for sure, too. So there is probably some more competition for our boy this year, unfortunately. So I don't think he's going to win it, unfortunately, but he probably was like a finalist at least for it this year. So there is all that. Now comes the question of who are we playing in the first round of the playoffs? Who is we going to be playing? Kind of a little bit nervous about the playoffs, obviously, just because we won the President's Trophy. And apparently our Burnaby Aces finished last in the division, so they didn't even make the playoffs, which is unfortunate. But we are going to be taking on the Chicago Blackhawks in the first round. I don't remember if we played them before or not, but they finished 45-27-10. We finished 53-25-4. I really hope they're not a cheese team. Really hope not. First and foremost, let's do a regular season comparison, and then we'll take a look at what their actual roster has. So We finished with 10 more points in them, but we won the division. They finished in a wild card spot because the Central Division is absolutely stacked. Dallas, who we played last year in the playoffs, didn't even make it. Damn, I didn't realize they fell off so hard. But little comparison, we were obviously better offensively. They were actually kind of close to us defensively, but we were better defensively. We were better on the power play by like 10%, and we were much better on the penalty kill as well. So we're probably going to have better than most teams on most things just because we were first place in 3 of 4 categories. So there is that. They're 7-2-1 in their last 10 games going into the playoffs. That's a bit scary. All right. Well, let's take a look at what this roster has because I'm honestly not too sure what to expect from them. I also should take a look at that Toronto guy's contract. Let's actually do that first just because I am kind of curious on that and I don't want to forget about it. Like, is this guy getting paid more than... he's not even getting paid more money. Look at that. Wow. That's actually kind of crazy. So, we were literally just talking about Tuzolino's $20 million contract. Well, look at that Roberts guy that just had a fantastic season and is going to win a Norris. He's literally only getting paid $15.58 million as compared to the $20 million that Tuzolino's getting. And the crazy thing is, I think Roberts actually never doesn't have any Norris trophies. I thought he would have a Norris trophy, but still, he's getting $5 million less. So that's pretty damn impressive. That's a great little contract for them. But anyways, now let's take a look at Chicago and see what they got. I don't remember if Connor Bedard should be still playing for them at this point because I don't think he's left them. Yeah, they do still have him. So top line, Artem Gerbeshkov. We have seen this guy up there a lot in points over the last few years. A lot of 100-point seasons for this guy. He's on 1294 points already. Crazy. So really good player for him. First overall pick in the first-year draft. Interesting. Okay, I didn't even realize that. And then there is Connor Bedard as well, obviously a first overall pick. Did the Blackhawks ever win a Stanley Cup with these guys? They did. 35-36. It was not too long ago this team actually won a cup. I didn't even realize it was that. So they won literally 2 seasons ago, or 3 seasons ago. No, 2 seasons ago, because we're in 2038. So that's kind of impressive. So Connor Bedard and Roger McQueen. Wow, that's a really, really nice top line. Second line has Evan Love with Otto Ratu and Tommy Vallon. Interesting that Tommy Vallon's up there. I don't even know why this guy's up there, but 46 points. I mean, that's not bad. Interesting. Okay, so that's kind of a lower end player. They probably have some cap problems, my guess. Third line, Isaac Quint, Oscar Halverson, and Craig Lyles. Or Greg Lyles. Did I say Craig? I don't even know. But, yeah, I think they're definitely strapped for cap. There have to be. Like, that top line's probably making a ton of money. That's why the depth isn't as good. They might be a cheese team because of that. And then a fourth line of Tuomo Martins, Ilya Arkhipov, and Zach Ostapchuk. So I'm kind of curious on how much money this top line is making of theirs. Let's see. $11.22 million. And then you have Bedard on 11.78. And then you have Gerbeshkov on 14.47. And it's only a 3-year deal. So those guys are all making a ton of money. But combined, if I'm not mistaken, let me see. 11, that's 22. They're making like a combined like $36 million, which is basically equivalent to the players we let go of in free agency. So that's actually kind of insane. So these 3 guys, or you could take Tuzolino and Del Monte. From a defensive standpoint, anyways, they have Korchinski and Hannon. Second pairing has Oleski and Latendresse. And then their top 6, Will Kane and Daniel Grandpierre. So yeah, they're probably paying some money to these defenders too a bit. Korchinski's getting 13. Damn, I didn't realize he was getting paid that much. So yeah, I could definitely see that they're in a bit of cap trouble maybe. Hannon's getting 5.4. And then Latendresse on that second pairing is getting 8.3. So yeah, they definitely have cap-related issues, I think. And then their goaltending has Mitchell Auld, who's an 87, so he's also probably getting paid. Yep, $10.7 million. So he's probably one of the higher-up paid goalies in the league. How has he been in terms of simulation? A 910 save percentage this season, 914 a few years ago. Playoff numbers, only 1 year. And he didn't even win this. Actually, yeah, he did win the Stanley Cup with them, but he only won 15 of them. So I guess the backup that year won a game as well. So a couple of these guys were on that cup-winning team. Nicholas Koko's the backup. So they do have some solid goaltending. And then from a depth standpoint, they have Valabic, they have Donaghy, and also Ilya Protas. Didn't I run into Ilya Protas recently? Or was that in my other series? Yeah, that must have been in my other series. Actually, what team was he with last year? Minnesota. Yeah, I think it must have been in my Islanders series. He was on Washington or something like that with Alexei Protas. Huh, interesting. All right, but that's definitely a good team. That's one of the better teams we've seen for their record. So I definitely think they could be a cheese team. I do also want to look at their contract situation and just see how close they are in the cap floor. Yeah, they only have 2.7 million in cap space, which is not bad. So they do actually have some money to move around, but definitely a lot of money tied up between their good players because they have 14, 11, 11, 13, 8, 10, and then some guys below that. So definitely paying a good chunk of money out into places. 10 million, and their backups even getting 4 million bucks. So they're not afraid about spending money in goal, which is interesting. All right. Well, anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of our Albuquerque Aliens Draft to Glory franchise mode. So in next episode, we'll take it to the first round of playoffs against Connor Bedard in the Chicago Blackhawks as we look to not get cheesed and somehow use that President's Trophy as motivation to also win a Stanley Cup. And yeah, hopefully this team's able to do it this season. Send anything down below, and I'll see you guys next time.